Have you ever looked at your team and thought, everybody's busy, but nothing's really happening? Nothing's really moving. Or maybe you said to yourself, we keep on having these meetings, but no one is leaving with a sense of ownership or a sense of accountability. Well, if you've ever asked that question as a leader, or maybe you're contemplating it right now, guess what? This episode is for you because we're looking at disorganization and we're looking at how to shift from chaos to clarity. So come on, buckle up, tune in, invite another leader to listen or watch this with you. Let's go. Hello there. I'm Adrienne Benton, the host of Transformation Station. Welcome. This is where resilient leaders rise. And in today's episode, it's all about getting your team unstuck, not by doing more, but by leading with courage and with clarity. Consider this. Disorganization isn't just about systems problems. It's often many times about being a leadership signal. What could the signal be, you might ask? Well, the signal might be that your team is lacking one of three things: lacking clarity, lacking confidence, or lacking consistent leadership. But here's the good news. You don't need to overhaul everything in order to move your team forward. You just need to be bold enough to step in or to lean in with intention. So let's do just that today. Let's lean in. All right, come on now. Let's get after it. Think about this. Before we can move any team forward, before we move a new strategy, before we delegate new roles, or maybe even provide new motivation, we need to start with this fundamental leadership truth. Here's the truth: you can't fix what you have not fully named. So if your team is disorganized, if your team is confused, if your team is constantly scrambling, the first step that you want to do is to stop and pause and to diagnose this question. Where is the disorganization actually coming from? We got to find the root cause. Where is this disorganization coming from? Let's pause right here and stop and take a look at what are the four common causes for team disorganization. Let's walk through it together because until you name the why, you'll just keep on chasing systems. Number one of the most common root causes for disorganization is undefined roles or priorities. One of the fastest ways to create chaos is to assume that people know what's expected of them, or worse, to let priorities constantly shift without clarity. It's in environments like these where no one seems to know what is urgent, no one seems to know who owns what, no one seems to understand how success is being measured. They don't know how to track their progress. And so instead, people will start duplicating efforts. They will miss critical steps, or they'll focus on what feels safest, not on what actually matters. And as leaders, if we're going to move forward in a successful manner with our team, we need our team to be able to come together and focus on what actually matters. So, how do we combat this? How do we move forward if we are finding ourselves in this particular scenario? As a leader, have a regular clarity huddle, whether it's 10 minutes in the morning, whether it's 15 minutes in the afternoon, whether it's 5 minutes before everybody leaves at the end of the workday. Have a clarity huddle. And in this clarity huddle, you want to ask a question such as, what are the top three things we must move forward on this week? And who is owning each one? I love it. Bring clarity to the conversation. Bring clarity to the team. All right. Number 2, another one of the most common issues of disorganization on a team is fear of ownership or fear of failure. Some teams appear to be disorganized because they're actually afraid to step up. Team members are afraid to step up. Why? Past criticisms for mistakes. They don't want to experience that again. A lack of psychological safety. They just want to get in, do what they need to do, and get out. Or a culture where failure is punished instead of being processed. A culture where failure is punished instead of being processed. And it's in these environments that silence becomes a survival strategy and disorganization becomes a defense. Think about this. People don't avoid work, they avoid judgment. You see somebody who's avoiding getting a task done. Why are they avoiding getting the task done? Many times it's not the task itself, but it's external factors that are attached to getting the job or the tasker completed. So a leadership move that you can do if you or your team is in this particular scenario, create a fail forward culture. Celebrate initiative over perfection. I typically will say to my team over and over again, we're not being held to being perfect, but we are being held to being progressive. Progressive means always learning. And I say this over and over and over again. So when a mistake is made, I want them to come and just tell me honestly, show me the mistake. Let's look at the root. Let's figure it out. Because typically it's something that we can course correct. I don't want you to be perfect, but I do need you to be progressive. Don't quit. Let's keep on learning, keep on growing. Give your team permission to try before they're sure. That will help build their confidence. All right. Number 3, the third most common reason for disorganization or causes for disorganization amongst the team, lack of follow through or lack of accountability. This one right here, it's very subtle, and this one right here is very dangerous. You might have a system. You might be saying the right things in meetings, but without consistent follow through, expectations dissolve. Have you ever experienced that? You're in a meeting and everything sounds good and we're hitting the nail on the head, and then the meeting is over. There's no minutes from the agenda. There's no follow-up for the taskers that were supposed. There's no deadlines. There's no timelines. And guess what? The expectations, the excitement, the clarity that your team had during the meeting is over. Day 1, day 2, day 3 is gone. And now there's no more clarity. And now the excitement, the expectation, the hope, it has dissolved. You see, when people see deadlines slide, when people experience decisions going unchecked, then they stop trusting the system. They stop trusting your voice. They stop trusting your leadership. Disorganization becomes the norm and energy drops. Why? Because they have to go through the cycle all over again of who is doing what and what is expected. So what's a leadership move that you can do as a leader if you find yourself experiencing this common cause of disorganization? Establish a consistent accountability rhythm. Something simple like in the midst of your clarity huddles, saying what's done and what's next. Have a check-in during each of these type of meetings, because clarity will build consistency and consistency will build clarity. All right. And number 4, the next common reason for disorganization amongst the team, having a reactive culture. Always putting out fires. Okay, this one right here, this is the killer of long-term momentum. If your team is constantly shifting gears based on the latest or most present emergency, then they never get traction on the important, because they're always chasing the urgent. Are you always chasing the urgent? Is your team always chasing the urgent, never knowing what to prioritize? This is not disorganization by accident. It's disorganization by default. And over time, it creates fatigue, it creates confusion, it creates resentment. Consider this: if everything is urgent, then nothing is important. Ask yourself right now, what is urgent? What is important for my team? How can we gain clarity on knowing how to prioritize what we have to get done? And being able to answer the question, what is urgent and what is important? So as a leader, what's a leadership move that you could do if this common cause is what you and your team is experiencing? Protect time for deep work. Shield your team from fire drill culture by pushing back against unnecessary reactivity, even when it's uncomfortable. So consider this: disorganization is rarely about effort. Your team is likely working hard. The issue is, are they working hard in the same direction with shared clarity and ownership? This is a question that you can contemplate, you can reflect on, you can begin to answer. It also is a question that you can take back to your team and have the team come together and answer the question. Because chaos thrives where clarity is absent. That's a transformation station quote that I want to invite you to invest in and to actually share with your team. Here's the quote again: chaos thrives where clarity is absent. Who owns what? And do they know it? Super important. So now that we've taken some time to look at disorganization and what the common causes of disorganization are, we want to take a moment and look at, now, how do we do that leadership shift? How do we shift from control to courage? And how do we infuse courage in a disoriented team? When a team feels scattered, or when a team feels unsure, the instinct typically for us as leaders is to clamp down, to start to micromanage, to hover over every every decision that is made, filling in gaps personally. But that's not leadership. That's management on adrenaline. Micromanagement, that's going to get you and I short-term management, short-term movement. It's not going to build long-term ownership, long-term initiative, or long-term resilience. Let's be clear. The opposite of chaos is not control. The opposite of chaos is clarity and courage. So together, let's walk through 4 intentional ways to lead with courage. 4 intentional ways that we can build courage into your team. Number 1, be calm in the room. This is ultra key. Like, this is key, like key, vital key. Because your nervous system is one of the most powerful leadership tools that you have. If you are chaotic, if you are tense, if you are reactionary, then your team will either mimic that energy or they will shut down under it. Calm doesn't mean to be passive. It means to be rooted. Calm means to be present. Calm means to be unshakable. Think about this. You and I, we teach through our tone more than through our talk. There's a lot that's communicated in our tone. What are you communicating to your team through your tone, even when you're trying to be calm? What is your tone saying? Here's a good leadership cue right here. The next time that a problem hits, take a breath before you speak. That 3-second pause might be the most courageous leadership move of your day. In that 3-second pause, 1, you give yourself an opportunity to back up and respond as opposed to reacting. Then, in that 3-second pause, You give your team an opportunity to back up and to respond as opposed to react, to really listen to hear what you're saying, not just listen to respond. Number two, give permission to fail forward. We're talking about resetting a disoriented team. Give them permission to fail forward. Disorganized teams often struggle with fear of making wrong moves so that they end up making no move at all. Disorganized teams often struggle with fear of making the wrong move and they end up making no move at all. Your job as a courageous leader is to normalize the imperfection, celebrate smart risk taking, and to reflect openly on your own learning moments. As a leader, we can be appropriately vulnerable, intentionally honest. You make a mistake, call your own tilt. Be honest openly, publicly, not in secret. Be honest about the fact that you made a mistake or this did not go as you had planned. Let them know that you're human as a leader, and also let them know what lesson you've learned. Sometimes it might be appropriate to bring them in on how to course correct, how to redo. Remember, John Maxwell says this quote, and I actually love it. Leadership is not about being the hero. It's about building other people's confidence in their own strength. When people feel safe to mess up and still belong, they bring their energy, they bring their courage, they bring their ideas to the table. So ask yourself right now as a leader, what message does your team get when someone drops the ball? Do they get the message that they have to retreat? Or do they get the message that it's time to regroup? Number three, here's what we can do to reorient our teams. Share the why, not just the what. Direction without meaning equals disengagement. Don't just assign tasks, but anchor them. How do you anchor your team? Help your team, assist your team in understanding, number one, their role matters. Number two, who is impacted by their excellence. And number three, what greater purpose their work serves. Because when your team knows their why, their work becomes mission driven, not just checklist driven. For example, you could say, having this report helps us to shape next quarter's goal instead of saying, I need that report by Friday. I'm going to say that in the reverse. Instead of saying, I need that report by Friday, you could say, having that report on Friday will help us to shape next quarter's goals. Instead of saying, I need that report by Friday, you could say, having that report helps. Instead of saying, I need that report by Friday, you could say, having that report helps us to shape next quarter's goals. See the difference? Small shift has big impact. And number four, the fourth thing that you can do to reorient your disoriented team, celebrate progress, not just perfection, but progress. Because when things feel disorganized, many leaders tend to focus on only what's missing. Don't be that leader, but have the courage to show people that they are seen and that they can have courage to move things forward. Start catching people doing the right things, even if it's small. Perfectly, perfectly, publicly, publicly affirm effort, publicly affirm creativity, publicly affirm initiative, publicly affirm risk taking. For example, you could say, Robert, I noticed how you stepped up to coordinate that last minute task. You didn't have to, but you did. And that's leadership. Wow. I promise you, you will see a light spark in Robert. You'll see a light spark in team members who maybe did not see their own value or maybe did not realize the value that you see in them as their leader. So here's your reflection cue. How often do you give feedback that's not correction, but that is affirmation? How often do you give feedback that's not correction, but that is confirmation? All right. So now that we understand how we can move things forward, we want to again recognize what are the practical steps that we can take to really make our team safer. Practical steps. Number 1, have a weekly clarity check-in. Ask, what are the 3 most important things we're doing and who owns them? Number 2, anchor goals to purpose. Tie your task to the why. Even in disarray, purpose gives people focus. Number 3, build micro momentum. Break down projects into winnable, trackable steps. Success builds confidence. Number 4, create a culture of circling back. Clarity without follow through is just noise, but create space for reporting back, not just assigning. Don't confuse motion with progress. A team in motion without direction is just a group of people sharing a space. You don't want to just share space, but you want your team to move like an orchestra. You want your team to be in motion with direction and with clarity. It's time to take out your journal because we have some journal prompts, some reflection prompts for this next week. Number 1, where am I assuming clarity where it doesn't exist? This is a good reflection question before you start the week, in the middle of the week, and at the end of the work week. Number 2, am I leading from reaction or with strategic presence? If you're leading from reaction, you can reset at any time. If you're leading from strategic presence, you can enhance that at any time, but you've got to own it. Number 3, who on my team needs courageous direction right now? You can identify who those individuals are. Courageous direction does not have judgment. Courageous direction is not putting people down. Courageous direction is recognizing that courage is needed and you can go stand beside, sit beside, even if you did it for the 11th time. Doesn't matter. Because as a leader, we don't give up on our people, but we keep on striving with them. Leading a disorganized team does not mean that you have failed. It means that you have an opportunity to build the culture from the ground up, to reset the culture from the ground up. Start small, but lead steady. And remember, clarity, courage, and consistency, that changes everything. If this episode spoke to you or to your team in a real way, I want to invite you to go ahead and leave a comment, tag me in the DM, share with me your biggest takeaway. Let me know how you and your team, how you're leading from courage this week. As you share, I will be sure to share your comments on a future podcast. Because it's not about getting your team to move forward only. It's about helping them to believe why they're moving forward, believe in that why, and to believe in where you are going as a team. So until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and keep on transforming.